mental health industry as it pertains to kids. This is really more for kids than it is for adults. It's more for kids than for adults. Adults can choose what they do. They have a lot of autonomy. They've got a lot of control over their life. Kids don't. Phil for you. Kids pretty much have to do what their parents tell them to do, or they're set up for success by their parents, by the people in their life, by professionals, mental health professionals, medical professionals, and their parents. These are the people that put out the roadmap for them. What they eat is basically what their parents buy and what they provide. What they're prescribed is navigated by the mental health industry, the medical industry. All of these people are kind of controlling these children's lives. And I've got some complaints about this. My daughter's been in and out of residential treatment centers, mental health units, ER, PHP, which is partial hospitalization program, IOP, intensive outpatient program, and navigated a lot of like these external services like, therapists and family therapists. And I got some complaints, y'all. I think this system is broken. I don't think it's working for these kids. It certainly doesn't seem to be working for my kiddo. And here's why. Number one, consistency and continuity of provider. Seems like every step of this thing, my daughter sees a new provider, a new therapist, a new psychiatrist. All these people have different ideas about health and wellness. All these people have different ways of looking at mindset and therapy. And every time she switches the therapist, she needs to develop and build another relationship with the therapist. This takes time. And she's just being passed from one to the next every time she goes from a residential treatment center to a partial hospitalization program to an IOP to all of these. She just goes from therapist to therapist, from psychiatrist to psychiatrist. Each one has their own ideas of diagnosis. Each one has their own ideas about what they should be prescribing her. I think continuity and consistency of care should be a priority for these kids so they can develop relationships with people that span time, so they can have, a consistency. I think that's really important, that we have people in our lives that can support us and be there for us, that we can count on as we navigate some of these challenging things, these challenging emotions, these challenging kind of coping strategies, these maladaptive coping strategies. And this brings me to number two. I think pharmaceuticals should not be prescribed when they're prescribed. I do not think we should start with pharmaceuticals. I don't think we should start with medication. Kids come in, we're like, let's give them a bunch of drugs. All these drugs have side effects that are what we're trying to mitigate. You look at the side effects of the drugs that are prescribed. It's anxiety. It's disruption of the sleep. It's, depression. It's all the things that we want to kind of solve in our kiddos. And when you combine them, when I look at interactions between these drugs, it even gets worse. The drugs interact together to exacerbate the very things we're trying to mitigate. And they prescribe all these things before going to the functional and holistic place of nutrition and diet, movement, sleep hygiene. I think these three things are medicine. Nutrition and diet, sleep hygiene, and movement are very important. And these have no bad consequence. There's no negative side effect to dialing in nutrition, to dialing in movement, to have a consistent movement routine and ritual in these children's lives so that they can like process and move through difficult emotions, difficult experiences. And sleep is so important. These are foundational pillars of human health. But do we get any prescription for any of those? No. No one shares what nutrition should look like for my daughter. No one shares what movement should look like for my daughter. No one shares what sleep should look like for my daughter. Those are things that are handled by the household. The household gets to dictate that with no recommendations or prescriptions from the mental health and medical professionals throughout this system. But what is definitely prescribed that's agnostic of household are the drugs. Buy the drugs, give your kids the drugs, and then your kids are kind of a zombie part of the day. And it's just like we're in this world where they're going to be on drugs for an indefinite amount of time. There's no end to that. It's just like we're going to put them on a bunch of drugs and we're going to keep messing with those drugs until we get some kind of result. I don't think we've seen a positive result yet. And we never tried nutrition, movement, and sleep. I don't think we looked at the environment. You know, if a rose doesn't bloom, if a rose is struggling, if the leaves are different colors, you don't monkey around with the rose. You don't pull on the bud. You don't go and like mess with the rose. You mess with the environment that the rose is in. How much water? Is it too much, too little? What kind of nutrients are in the soil? That's what I think we should be doing with my daughter. That's what I think we should be doing with all these kids. But we can't do that. There's no function in this world that looks at the environment and gives prescriptions to the environment to support these kiddos. Oftentimes, it's probably parents that need support, whether it's co-parents that need support working together, developing trust and transparency, honesty, authenticity, and communication across households so there can be consistency and continuity across households. Or individual parents, parenting coaching, or all of these things so they can develop good habits and practices for themselves and then for the household. Prescriptions of nutrition, movement, and sleep should be for the person, for the kiddo, not for the household to dictate. And if they're going to dictate it, at least they'll have some guidelines and some support. I feel a lot of the stuff is very promising that's coming out of nutritional psychiatry. There's a lot of promising stuff about diet and the gut and it being your second brain and how it impacts mood, how it impacts your mind, your cognition. This is stuff that's just overlooked in a clinical environment. I think functional, holistic is the way to go, but it just doesn't seem like I'm not finding anybody in the system that agrees with me and is willing to play ball and support my daughter, starting with functional medicine, functional nutrition, lifestyle changes that can impact her overall health. I'm just so frustrated with it. And I don't know what to do, to be honest. I feel hopeless. I feel helpless. I feel like I'm screaming at the top of my lungs things that should be no-brainers. Physical health. It starts with physical health. It starts with mental health. That's like what you put in your body, how you move your body, and how you're giving your body rest. Developing these coping strategies that are helpful. I mean, they do that piece. They're doing that piece. But I think it's much more important what you put in your body. You are what you eat. And these kids eat what's provided to them, what's modeled to them. It took me forever to get the PHP just to give a recommendation regarding ADHD and these mood medications and how they play with caffeine and energy drinks that my daughter was being provided. I had to demand and like over and over say like, I want y'all to step in on this. And the first messages I got back were, oh, that's household related. Households dictate that. And I'm like, no, that's medical. That's a medical recommendation. Do we mix these medicines with caffeine and energy drinks? Should my child be drinking energy drinks and high milligrams of caffeine every day in a world where they struggle from anxiety? In a world where sleep is really important? I get real passionate about this. It's difficult for me. This is one of the things I'm learning to live with and kind of move through. All right, that's the second thing. Ranting about the mental health industry and children.